So I take a piece of paper and I put it out here on the table. And what I will do is I will calm down, bring myself into a state of calm, and then I will ask a question. And this is a question, since we spoke about King Nebuchadnezzar, for the first time, no accident, we'll speak about our president, Donald Trump, and another king who has been very prevalent this week in the news, Mr. Putin. Okay, so here we go. My question would be, what have Donald Trump and Putin share? What is the commonality in these two individuals? Please show me. Okay, the first thing that comes in is a pair of hands. And they're more or less shaking hands, these two individuals. They're shaking hands. And that's the first thing that comes in. And the hands are flesh-colored, and they're floating in blackness. There's blackness all around these hands. And then I get a small image of Putin standing here. Here's Putin. He's standing here. That's his arm and hand. And this is him. And he has on a black suit. And this hand is carrying a black pouch. It's very big. It's standing on the floor. And this pouch, which he has, is black and dark. And I'm asking to see into this pouch. He's hiding it behind his back. He doesn't want anyone to see it. First thing I see here is a time bomb. It's a cylinder, and there's a clock, and there's little wires coming out of the thing. This is the top of it. This is the most important thing he carries. He carries a ticking time bomb. And I'll get back to that image in a minute. And underneath the time bomb, I see a series of dark weapons. I see a dagger, a very big dagger. I see a machine gun. I see a large ball, big black ball, medieval looking, with manacles coming off it, and handcuff type operation. So he wants to capture and control and hold people in dark places, in places where where they are ineffective and they have lost their power. So this medieval device is very primitive, but the instincts of this individual Putin are primitive. These are the instincts of a primitive being who uses this black bag filled with secrecy and hidden objects behind his back, so that who he relates to is not clear on his agenda, and he has an agenda. So out from his head comes all these bubbles and thoughts, and one of them is filled with, my life is like a time bomb. It has a beginning and an end, and I have exploded my energy into my world. I have, through time, brought my energy out onto the world and showered it down. And he sees a globe here on the planet Earth. This is the planet Earth, and his influence has completely, entirely covered the globe. And I see small rivulets coming out of this power center, which he is. And there isn't one area of this globe at this moment where he hasn't had some influence or impact, and he knows it. And in this, there are fires on this globe. He sees fires. And he wants to, through time, with his power, take these fires, which are areas in the world which he would like to take the fire out and dominate. U.S., Middle East, places in Africa, parts in Asia. He has a strong desire to do that. And life for him is ticking away. Now I see a big clock next to the time bomb, a clock with two little, and a stand and all the hours on it. And he sees that his life is ticking away and it has a beginning and an end. And when the end comes, he ceases to exist. And he hasn't got any plan beyond this physical existence. And he has this terror in himself that all he has secretly worked for, this complex of hidden agendas and personal agendas, he has worked covertly and with great purpose and great stealth, hear the word stealth, to accomplish his goals. And what happens is they are threatened to be lost at the end of his life. And this is causing an increase in wanting to leave a legacy. He wants now to leave a legacy. He wants to leave a legacy not necessarily through his offspring because they feel ineffective. His biological offspring are ineffective. But he has around him, he has groomed around him, I see him in a kind of theater. And there are these pillars around this theater. And here he is standing in the midst of this theater with these pillars around him. It's almost temple-like. And then there are other individuals in this temple. And they are wearing white blinders. And they have their heart crossed. It's a very interesting image. Here's the individual with the holding these crosses over the chest. And they have blinders, a white scarf over their eyes here. And what that's doing is it's giving allegiance to this individual, blind allegiance to this individual to perpetuate his ideas and his work. And he believes it. He has bound them to him. Now this is interesting. Through a series of steps. One, he has set them all up for blackmail. This is fascinating how he has operated. Two, he has set them up with money. Money that has the threat to dissolve if they're exposed. And also, three, in a very strange way, further harm to their family and relatives. It's a very powerful motivator. How did he do that? Because by destroying reputations and by destroying and blackening the persons who are standing around him, he takes bitter mobs, I'm seeing bitter mobs attack the remaining relatives and friends and family. This is quite a scenario and setup for this individual. Fascinating. I have much more to say on him, but let's go to the other side of this hand. Now we see the fluid flowing into Donald Trump, a much stouter figure. A stouter figure. What I see here is undulating waves. This relates to many levels of this individual. The physiology of this individual is undulating, jelly-like, somewhat out of control. This is a constant theme I'm going to see with this, I feel. This word's very big. A lack of control, out of balance. So the fat cells literally undulate and they create a sense of disgrace and disfigurement to this individual mentally. This bothers him much more than it can be perceived on the outside, especially with the heavy masking. The blue, navy blue overcoat, like a cloak, an invisibility cloak, that's what it acts for, a mantle of authority, an invisibility cloak with a red tie and a white shirt, which represents the United States, red, white, and blue. He presents this facade to the world which covers this gel-like mass. And this large cloak creates an invisibility of his internal agenda. So he's heavily masking, and he wants all those around him who he associates, family, friends, children, to do the same thing, to mask, to wear clothes, to hide their agendas and keep them quiet. This is a style of his. And going back to this body that we see, where the cells are undulating, the physical structure, and I'm looking at bone now, is beginning to crumble. It feels literally chalky. This individual is suffering from a kind of osteoporosis or bone demineralization. He's involved with several drugs, I feel, because he has impulses that are very powerful, and he has strong explosions, literally inner explosions of energy within himself that shoot out of himself. I'm literally seeing these things pop out of his body right now. He's standing before me in his clothes, his outfit. And in order to control these and bring them back down into himself, he uses a myriad of drugs. I know recently I've heard on various YouTubes, that they see certain expressions of drugs, but like Adolf Hitler, he uses a cocktail of drugs to control his mood swings and his explosive behavior and his unsteady, undulating behavior. He's trying to bring it more into normal and more focused and more laser-like action. He came in, I see him in a bathtub, almost drowning, literally drowning. This is his body in the bathtub, and he is literally drowning in the bathtub when he took office, because he's half submerged at all times, actually, because he can't seem to stand on his 2 feet over here and accomplish what he wishes to, because he frankly cannot comprehend the global picture. I get the earth here above him, a global picture, and I'm seeing a spectrum here, bar spectrum, like when you scan out in a grocery store, a spectrum of bars, which is data and information coded, and he doesn't know how to break the code or understand all the symbols, all the words, all the language, all the history, everything that has preceded him. It's all new and bizarre, and just like a strange language, like a barcode, he can't comprehend. This causes him to feel he's sinking a lot of the time and drowning in what he doesn't understand, and therefore he goes back to this self, which tries to balance and regulate himself. And I see an arm coming out now with a hand, and he's pushing down this, a very large force that wants to emerge constantly, and he keeps it in a kind of concrete box. He's keeping this in a concrete box. He doesn't want it to literally detonate and swing forward. For his life, he has had a constant outlet for this kind of energy in wheeling and dealing, where he could say or move with dollars, say things or move with dollars and create actions that release this energy. And by that, wheeling, dealing, making bribes, making strange verbal outbursts in arenas where it wasn't quite important what was said. And the ability to control through overpowering, this is a very common theme with him, overpowering, the ability to control and overpower and subdue people and events. And here are people and events standing here, has allowed him to release this energy. It's not working anymore. So as the world pushes in on him, the world is pushing in on him, and he has a very messy energy around him. I'm looking at the drawing, which is quite messy. Explosions coming out, drugs pulling everything back into balance, forces at work around him, everything from lawsuits to popular opinion to the strategies of people around him who wish to engage him and see him sink in his bathtub and go under Okay? This is a tomb. They would like to see him sink and go under in a tomb and die and be removed. There are many leaders in the world, many leaders in nations all over the world who are very upset with him. We're looking at the globe here. Europe, I'm feeling Europe, Middle East in this region, India, China, Russia, Scandinavia, which attempts to stay out of it, strongly opinionated, Canada, tremendous opinions, Mexico, Central America, South America. There isn't one place on this planet where there aren't leaders who are watching this individual and who are not able to understand exactly what this energy is that he presents. They cannot predict his next step, what his future path looks like into the future. And it causes, in this sense, great quaking, great nervousness, tremendous charge, tremendous discomfort, agita, emotional insecurity, which is building all around our planet and which will express back into the planet in terms of shocks, both financial and in terms of the actual crust of this planet. There's tremendous force building and is ready in a cycle to be returned to this planet Earth, because that's how everything works. Up and down, back and forth, in and out. So we move back to our individual here. Mr. Trumpet, trumpeting. This is another interesting image. This is a man who is trumpeting the beginnings of a new age in spite of everything that we are seeing here, in spite of all the discord, mental confusion, the disharmony, the use of multiple drugs, the ineffectual global leadership, the idea that he can't even understand the symbols, the words, the history, the heritage. This is the individual who is beginning to hearken in a new period where this earth gets activated. And instead of a large picture where single individuals want to control big pictures, single individuals want to control the earth, the big picture, there is this awakening on each continent of small individuals that come forth and want their voice to be heard. And each will do it in their own unique way. Each person has a gift to begin this awakening. And back to where we started, what is the commonality between these two individuals? Okay, first thing is global influence that they wish will not be asserted on the world. It is no longer the time for that kind of a demonstration of power. They both lack tremendous input early on from mother. I'm seeing mothers here in both situations who were cold, gray, indifferent, and out of alignment with their sons. And they weren't acknowledging them at all. And they weren't providing stimulus. Okay, I'm getting an alphabet A to Z. The letters A through Z. In a normal household, children develop emotions A through Z. And they get different information from their culture. But these individuals had a proclivity for singularity, for the personality as it emerged and came into physical reality. It focused in heavily in particular directions, and the mothering initially did not add to an expansion into the letters A through Z. Emotional experience, for instance, anxiety may have been one emotion, brutality, cooperation, effortlessness, desire, I'm going through letters, but the idea is that there's a range of emotions: J for joy, L for love, A for appreciation, B for beauty as it's seen in the world. You get the idea. A normal child will have influences like that moving into them. These two men, highly restricted, minimal, almost in gray caves where they weren't acknowledged and validated by their mother, and very little input. So they moved in quickly into themselves and found methods in a very singular laser-like way to support the self so that they could survive in this world. And they created these systems and structures. They are builders, both of them. Builders. Let me see if I can show you here because that's rather full. Each man, in his way, has attempted to create buildings, structures, accumulation of things, to create a structure which would compensate for the tremendous lack and deficiencies that have arisen in this belly area. I see complete black holes in this belly area, which would enable them to use the tremendous energy that they have to manipulate and move through their lifetimes with some purpose. This building is proportional to the emptiness that they're experiencing and the fear that is generated from the terror. I'm hearing these words, the terror this emptiness holds for them. It is literally painful. It is literally painful for them. Well, this has been a very interesting reading, and I have enjoyed it tremendously. And it looks like a mishmash at this moment, but hopefully as I've talked through this, this will have made some sense to individuals who are willing to look at it. And I thank you for sharing with me. This was my first experience, and it was very comfortable and pleasant for me. And I'm hoping that with understanding the forces that are at work in our world sometimes, that we can go into ourselves, into our center, and find our own peace, our own stability, our own self-love, our own self-appreciation, knowing that all is well within us, that we are eternal, that as these movements and shifts of energy occur, that we can frame them for ourselves. And here I get a very large picture frame over the whole image of gold, beautiful gold picture frame over the whole image, that we can frame this in a way where we can mute out the challenges and put a beautiful heart of love and peace over the whole thing. A beautiful heart of love and peace. It's not that we deny what's here, but we choose for ourselves the way we wish to view this, as part of a progression, as part of a movement and a transition which has never ever been accomplished by the human species ever before, and that we are joining in this, that it is an amazing, miraculous time to be here, to witness what we see and to participate in our way, in the most beneficial way that we can as individuals. I thank you. Thank you for being here.